Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. Today, I'm going to discuss about the instructional material selection, design, and development in language art teaching. So, what is instructional materials? So, the language instructional materials is anything which is used by teachers and learners to facilitate and increase learning according to Tomlinson 1998. So, what are the example of instructional materials? So, instructional materials are those videos, photographs, audio materials, live talks, dictionary, webinar, grammar books, food packages, printed, photocopied, realia, exercise, tasks, and flashcard, posters, brochures, and flyers. So, instructional materials refers to resources used by teachers and students to support the teaching and learning process. So, in short, instructional materials are the materials used for teaching and learning. So these are the types of materials. The textual materials refers to books, poems, short stories, and articles. However, multimedia materials are videos, audio, recordings, interactive apps. Digital resources are the educational websites, online quizzes, and ebooks, while print and non-print materials are flashcards, posters, manipulative tools for grammar, word formation. So, language instructional materials refers to IMs that can be anything which is deliberately used to increase the learning knowledge, skills, and learning experience. So, instructional materials control the content, control the process, and influence what goes on in the classroom. Now, let us differentiate what is the differences of adopt, develop, and adapt. When we talk about adopt, we are referring to selecting existing materials. So the materials are already there. You're just going to select what materials you're going to use. However, when we talk about this design and develop materials, we're talking about creating your own materials. And adopt, it means selecting materials and making adjustment to the materials. So when we're going to adopt a material, so the materials are already there. So for example, we need to teach our learners about a 4-letter words, how to read it, and we're just going to research it online. Like there's a flashcards of 4-letter words that are already available in the internet. And however, if we're going to design and develop materials, so we are the one who make those materials, and we're not going to search and print it from the internet. And also, when we adapt a material, so we select and make adjustment to the material. So for example, you're searching a 5-letter word materials or 5-letter words flashcards for your students who can read or who can really read 5-letter words. So while searching on the internet, you only see 4-letter words materials, and there are some available but are not applicable for download and printing. So what you're going to do is you adjust. So you select the materials and you make adjustment to the materials. So if the materials cannot be printed, so you're going to make your own materials just using the ones you found in the internet as your guide on how to make it. So why it is important for us to develop, select, or to design instructional materials? Instructional materials enhances understanding of language concepts such as grammar, reading, and writing. And also, instructional materials provide a diverse methods of engagement like in visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. It is also support critical thinking and communication skills. So the instructional materials that we're using right now is aligned with the Matatag curriculum, which supports inclusivity, accessibility, and technology integration. So here we have 6 principles according to Richard 1990 that we're going to follow when selecting, developing, and designing instructional materials. So what are these principles? So number 1, Good language materials are based on sound theoretical learning principles. Second, it speaks and maintains learners' interest and attention. Third, it meets the learner's need and background. Fourth, it provides examples of language use. Fifth, it provides meaningful activities. And lastly, it provides opportunities for authentic language use. Also, Tomlinson 1998, good language teaching material should achieve impact, help learners develop confidence, provide relevant and useful content, expose learners for authentic language use, take into account individual differences, and encourage learners' involvement. However, in Crawford 2002, mentioned that effective language materials should present functional language in context. It present realistic and authentic language models, promote purposeful use of language, and include an audio-visual component that fosters learners' autonomy. And it cater for individual and contextual differences and engage learners affectively and cognitively. So, in selecting, designing, and developing materials according to Richard 1990, Tomlinson 1998, and Crawford 2002, we need to consider learners' need, and also instructional material should be contextualized. It provides for authentic language use, it is purposeful, and also instructional materials promote autonomy of the learners. So here are the instructional material selection criteria. First is the relevance to curriculum objectives. Of course, when we're going to make or when we're going to select, design, and develop instructional materials, we need to consider the curriculum objectives. It should be aligned with the learning goals of the multi-tag curriculum. Second, it is learner-centered. So the approach in selecting, designing, and developing instructional material should be learner-centered approach. It considered age, cognitive level, and language proficiency of the students. Also, instructional materials promote cultural sensitivity, materials that respect and reflect students' background. And lastly, it promotes diversity and inclusivity, the materials that caters to various learning needs. Now, let us proceed to instructional materials design and development. So first, let us consider the overall curriculum. And then, we identify the needs of the students. Then, consider the learning competency. And also, the assessment before the material creation. And after the material was created, or the instructional materials are already there, so we proceed to use the material in teaching and learning. And after using the materials, we need to evaluate whether the material is effective or not. And then go back again to the overall curriculum, whether we achieve the learning goals and objectives of the curriculum. And instructional materials design, let us have a design. First, there is design principles. So number one is engaging and interactive. Material should be interactive to foster active learning. Second, clarity and simplicity. Avoid overly complex language or visuals. Third, real-life application. Relate language skills to real-world situations, example, role-playing, dialogues, or writing letters. And instructional materials design, there is also the technological integration. Digital storytelling apps such as Storybird or Book Creator for creating ebooks. And educational games for vocabulary building, example is Kahoot and Quizlet. And then, there is differentiation and adaptation. Design activities that can be modified for students with varying level of proficiency. And instructional materials development, we have 4 steps in developing instructional materials. First, we need analysis. So we analyze or we identify the specific needs of learners based on assessment. Second, conceptualization and prototyping. We develop rough drafts or prototypes of the materials. Then third, we review and revise. So review and revisions is seeking feedback from educators, students, and subject matter experts. Then fourth, finalization and production. Finalize content, layout, and any multimedia features. Now we're here on examples of developed materials for language arts. So first we have reading materials. Reading materials like short stories or excerpts from contemporary and traditional Filipino literature. Second is activity sheets. Worksheets that focus on language structure, example, verb tense, sentence construction with varied difficulty level. Third is the interactive lessons, use of storytelling apps where students create and share their own stories. So when we select, design, and develop instructional materials, we also do the evaluation for continuous improvement. So first we have formative evaluation. It is the ongoing assessment of the effectiveness of the materials through quizzes, project, and class participation. Second is the summative evaluation. It is done in the end of term assessment, feedback from teachers and students, and performance on standardized tests. And third is the revision and updates. It is to continuously adapt materials based on learners' progress and feedback. And designing materials, so there are factors that we need to consider according to Huard and Mejor 2004. First is the learners. Second is the curriculum and context. Third is the resources and the facilities. Fourth is the personal confidence and competence. Fifth is the copyright compliance. And sixth is the time allotted for us to design the materials. In designing effective English teaching materials, so we need to consider these 10 guidelines of Huar and Mejor 2004. So first is teaching material should be contextualized. Second, it should stimulate interaction and be generative in terms of language. Also, it should encourage learners to develop learning skills and strategies. Fourth, it should allow for a focus on form as well as function. Fifth, guidelines. English language material should offer opportunities for integrated language use. Also, it should be authentic. 7. It should link to each other to develop a progression of skills, understanding, and language items. And 8, guidelines. English language teaching material should be attractive. 9. English language teaching material should have appropriate instructions. And 10. Teaching material should be flexible. So the advantages of designing your own materials is that there is contextualization. It also caters to individual needs. It is personal and timeliness. And also the disadvantages is the organization, quality, and time. In conclusion, effective selection, design, and development of instructional materials in language art are crucial for promoting literacy and communication skills among students. The Matatag curriculum prioritizes accessibility, technology integration, and inclusivity, ensuring that materials support diverse learners. Do you have any questions or clarifications about the report? If you don't have any questions or clarifications, that's all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something from this video.